Hey guys, welcome back. So today, I brought home this 4400 watt DuroMax generator. This one was listed for free, parts only. And according to the listing, the key was missing. And if that was replaced, it should be a good machine. So I was a bit surprised when I went to go pick it up. I could see that the key actually is not missing. It's exactly where it should be. So I'm not really sure what to think of it, but the price was right. There is fuel in the tank. It doesn't smell expired, so I think we're okay there. And I did pull the engine over. It has compression, so this should run. But the fuel valve was left on, so I'm sure we're dealing with some carb issues. Anyway, let me get set up a little bit better. I want to check the basics, and if everything looks good, we'll try starting this. Woo. Okay. All right, that was almost a big mess. That cap almost got away from me, but that engine block, it is full of gas and oil. There's a bit of the aftermath, but thankfully I got the cap back on. I am going to get a tray under there and do that again. Yeah, and that's why you check your oil. And even more importantly, shut your fuel valve off. I mean, this leak past the needle and seat could be very small. It could take years for this much fuel to leak down into the engine. And something simple like shutting that fuel valve off will definitely save your generator or small engine. I mean, this here, a low oil sensor would not sense a problem here. The generator would start, it would run, and most likely smoke and probably shoot fuel out the breather or the airbox. And you let it run long enough, it's going to cause engine damage. There's just not enough lubrication in this anymore to protect the engine. Anyway, I'm going to clean up this mess and we'll continue on. Okay, and lastly, check the throttle plate. Make sure it's not stuck. and in this case it moves without issue. So should be safe to start, so give it a try. Not bad. All right, not too bad. It started right up and makes power. So despite how well the carburetor was running the engine, we know the needle and seat have an issue. So the carb does need to come off and get cleaned up. Also, that battery most likely is dead and has to be replaced. So we'll check that out as well. Yeah, I wouldn't call that fuel fresh. So I am going to drain the tank, but let's get this cleaned up first. Yeah, a little bit of rust. Looks like a bit of water down there. Interesting. Haven't seen that before. But this was a cap over the idle set screw, I guess to keep people from tampering with that. Anyway, not really sure why. I mean, I guess you don't need it. This generator doesn't idle. But if you want to clean that jet out, you do need access to get this out. And the main jet's in there. We'll try to get that out. All right, in the main jet, it doesn't want to come out, so I'm not going to force it, but I'm going to spray a bit of carb cleaner down there. Potentially that could break up some of the varnish, and then it will come out. Otherwise, I'll just run it through the ultrasonic and try to get it out after. Nope. Not going to happen. I want to say it cleaned up well, but it wasn't that dirty to begin with. Anyway, it's clean now. The rust is out of the bottom of the bowl, and I don't really see an issue with the needle or the seat. So I'm just going to reassemble it. I'm actually going to hook up a fuel supply before connecting this to the generator, let it sit overnight, and make sure we don't have any leaks. For the idle set, you don't need to go in too far, just enough to get it to poke through just a bit on the other side. Yeah, it seems to work fine. All right, the carburetor is hooked up to the test tank. So I've already opened the valve, and so far so good. I'm just going to let that sit overnight and make sure we don't have any leakage. There's a lot more fuel in there than I thought. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm just going to keep going until this thing's empty. And as for this battery, I'm going to check the voltage and the resistance to see if it has any chance. Yeah, 0.82 volts. And resistance is infinite. So most likely we have an open cell. This battery's not going to charge. Okay, looks like we're good. It is the next morning and no leaks. As far as the battery goes, I had a lot of issues finding this battery and finally gave up. I settled for something that is a little bit smaller. You can see the length here is shorter. It's a little taller and same width, but you can see the positive is on the wrong side. So if I try installing this like this, the cables aren't going to reach. And I think even if I turn it around, we're still going to have issues with length. So I do need to get some new cables made up, but before I do that, I am going to temporarily hook this up, make sure it has enough cranking amps to turn the engine over. Plus, I don't even know if the electric start works. So let's rig this up, we'll give it a quick try, and if it works, then we'll make some new cables up. All right, we'll give this a quick try. I did hook up the amp clamp. This battery is only rated at 88 cranking amps. So I want to make sure that if this turns over, that we stay below that number. Okay, good. The max amps I saw were 32 amps, and then it settled at about 23 amps. So this battery should be fine. I'll make up 2 new cables, and then we can get this battery installed. All right, change of plan. I had planned on mounting the new battery in the same orientation, meaning terminals to the front, but you can see here where it's nice and clean on the battery. That is where the strap goes. And not an issue on the old battery because the terminals are way in the front. But on the new battery, those terminals are much larger. And what ends up happening is when you put this down where it needs to be, it's dangerously close to bridging the positive and negative together. So really the only option is to put this in backwards, which isn't a bad thing because the neutral is actually plenty long enough. So we can just use that. We don't need to make a new one. The only one we need to worry about is this positive wire. So I'm going to get this off. We'll make a new one just a few inches longer and then get this battery installed. Beautiful. All right, I want to take a minute to just point out a very nice feature that this generator has. And in my opinion, they should all have it, but I don't see it often. And that's this switch right here. It allows you to pick between 120 and 240 volt mode or 120 volt mode only. And if you're only planning on running a 120 volt load, then that is a great feature because what it does is it kind of rewires leg 1 and leg 2 so that they run in parallel. So any load you apply here is going to be distributed evenly across both coils, and ultimately that's going to allow your stator to run cooler and last longer. All right, ready to give this thing a try. So I want to get it started. I want to double check the speed. It did sound like the engine was running maybe a bit fast when it was started for a few seconds there in the garage. So we'll check that out, make adjustments if we need, and then we'll load it up to 3,000 watts and see how it does. So, I left that switch on the front into 120 volt mode only, since that's all we're going to do. Let's give it a try. Yeah, it's running fast. We're at about 65 hertz. So I'm going to slow that down. All right, hopefully you can see it, but the governor adjustment screw, it's rusted up and it won't move. So I'm going to get some PB Blaster and an impact. We'll see if we can't free that up. All right, we'll give this a try. All right, I think we're in business. I backed that off probably more than I needed to, so let's get it started up and see where we're at. All right, we're at 120.5 volts, 61.8 hertz. Let's try a 3,000 watt load. 120.5 volts. Yeah, 57.3 hertz. That's not too good. I'm gonna bump the throttle manually, see if it comes up at all. All right, this one had me worried. You know, under a 3,000 watt load, the engine speed dropped quite a bit, below 58 hertz, and you don't want to see that. I mean, ideally, 61.5 hertz, no load, and at about 58 hertz under a full load. And I had incorrectly assumed that this was a 4,400 watt generator based on the model info here. But if you take a closer look at the rating here on the side, its rated output is actually 3,500 watts, and the 4,400 is the surge watts. So these space heaters, they are actually slightly over 1,500 watts each. So I was running it a lot closer to the rated load than I thought. So, you know, I would like to keep it above 58 hertz. I am going to restart it again. I'm going to bump that engine speed up a touch more, probably closer to 62.5 hertz. I mean, this started at, I think, 64 or 65 hertz. And I normally see on these smaller engines that they do run them a bit fast. I think that is really the only way they can get the rated load, never mind the surge load. So we'll get it going again, bump the speed up a touch, and we'll try the load test again. It's hard to see, but we're at 62.4 hertz. Beautiful, 58.4 hertz, 120.7 volts. All right, not too bad. This time it held at 58.5 hertz. So yeah, I'd say this thing is far from a parts machine as it was advertised. So I'm not sure why someone would give this away for free, but I'm glad they did that rather than the alternative, which is chucking it in the trash. Anyway, a little bit of fresh oil, new battery, and this thing is running the way that it should. So I hope this video helps someone. Thanks for watching.